So people have to stop training, they fall into a crisis because they're injured or whatever the crisis is, whatever, they had to stop training. But injury just doesn't affect the body, it affects identity, the thing of who you are. When athletes stop training, they feel lost, useless, disconnected. But performance is something you do, not who you are. You are the person who built the skill, and that person doesn't disappear because you're injured. As a matter of fact, that person should become better after the injury and get better after the injury and become smarter after the injury.
Time to roll smart. I'm Kemal Verhoeven, third degree Henzo Gracie black belt under George Cernak, one of Henzo's original students. I own 2 schools, have 13 affiliates, and yes, I still compete. Back-to-back European Master Champ in 24 and 25, silver at the Worlds in 24, and silver at the Pans in 25. This podcast, it's all about training smarter, staying on the mat, and rolling better. Let's do this!
Welcome back to Roll Smart. Today's episode is called When Life Taps You. This is episode 3 in our podcast series. It's been a minute, but we had some stuff to do. So here we go. It's a little bit personal, because we want to train, but sometimes stuff in life happens. No matter you get caught, you tap, that's fine. But in life, sometimes it's just weird things that happen, or bad things happen, or uncomfortable things happen. You cannot train. And it could be various things, For instance, I had heart surgery, back surgery, 2 elbow surgeries. Took 5 years from competing. And at one point, people quietly assumed I was done, but I wasn't. I just had to rebuild differently. So this episode is really for everybody who wants to train, whether you're an athlete or you just like to train, who's been forced for one reason or the other to stop. Everyone dealing with injuries, scares, setbacks, work, wives, husbands, kids. Anybody who wants to train but is unable to for various reasons. And I'll give you my own example later on. When life taps you, there's a moment every athlete remembers. Every person that trains to any kind of sport knows that sometimes you just can't train. And there becomes a moment, it's just not about soreness or anything else. It's specifically about injuries. It's something you cannot push through or ignore. It's a doctor visit, the scan, the surgery day. Life doesn't just care about your belt, your trophies, your discipline. It grabs you. And any time, any place. So this episode is specifically about when life taps you. So a scare, like not a major injury, but a scare. It's something everybody that trains has gone through. You realize it's not just soreness, it's really pain. It's not something you tape up and you push through. It's a doctor's visit, it's a scan, it's maybe a surgery. And then all of a sudden, life doesn't care about your belt, your trophies, your discipline, your motivation, your diet, and so forth, and so forth. No, it just grabs you by the balls, as we say. And most people, especially athletes, they respond by fighting harder, training through pain, ignoring signals, and that usually makes things worse. So learning when to tap in life, meaning when to just stop for a moment, is as important as learning when to tap on the mat. Over the course of my athletic career, if you can call it that, I had multiple injuries. Knee surgeries were plenty, but the 3 that really stood out for me were my back surgery, lower back surgery, my heart surgery because that was a scare, and my elbow surgery because that was just discomfort. So my back surgery was in 2013 or 14. I don't remember exactly. And it happened over time, the injury didn't come by itself. It was a protruding disc. But I felt it like really, really bad when I was inverting and somebody, just a big guy, just jumped on my lower back and just smashed my back together, and pain was shooting through my back. So I did some recovery, some rehab, but it didn't work. At some point, I just couldn't walk. So what happened is I had to go to the doctors, went to a very good doctor in Holland, and explained the situation. They took the MRIs, the x-rays, and said, well, you got a protruding disc. So you have 2 choices, he said. Rehab will take you for a year, or you can do surgery. And basically what he said, because of my athletic drive and my job was a full-time jiu-jitsu and boxing instructor, I had to opt for surgery. So surgery happens, and then it's all started. I had to learn to walk. I had to learn to move. I had to learn to run. I had to learn to bicycle. And I had to build up strength again because over the course of time when I had the injury, I got weak. But after surgery, I was even weaker, which was a complete surprise. Because how did all this strength and all these capabilities I had just disappear? So I did my rehab, and what happened is what I noticed because I had to be so careful. I started to think about jiu-jitsu very differently. I used to invert a little bit, play the long guard game, spider guard. I was very good in spider guard, lasso guard, all these things. So a very long game. And when I came back, when I was doing rehab, I said to myself, "Okay, you got to change the game." And what is more safer for your back than half guard? And half guard just sucked for me because I never played it, and just everybody ran through my half guard. It was like non-existent. So I had to develop like a half guard game to get back, at least to take away the stress on my lower back. And so during my rehab, I start to work more on movements for half guard, playing half guard, and I just got pretty good at it over time. So instead of accepting what happened, I changed to have a better outcome so I could train longer. And like I said, this is 12, 13 years ago. Now I have a decent half guard game, and I'm back to training like I want to train, but I'm not training as hard anymore. I go, once a week, once every 2 weeks, I go really hard. The other times I pick my partners, especially when I try stuff, so I don't get caught. And if I do get caught, they start yanking on my arm. No, I get very smart and intelligent training partners. I tell them what I want to work on. I tell them how I want to work on stuff, and then I evolve and develop. Start developing this whole new game for me. So instead of me going down after my surgery, I went from going here to here to here or even higher. And that's what I meant with, it's not a setback, it's a comeback. And I hope you guys realize it when something like this happens. Accept it, but work smart, work hard. So the outcome is once you're coming back, you get better. I call this the waking up lesson. And you see it all over the place, elite athletes as well. All of a sudden, you're facing health problems of what kind? And it reminds us of something very, very uncomfortable, that no one is invincible. So when I went through heart surgery and I went through elbow surgery and back surgery, it really, really hit me hard. The engine that powered my complete existence just suddenly failed. That forces humility. It forces reflection. It forces change. Health problems don't mean weakness. They mean you're human. And how you respond to this situation determines how long you stay in the game, especially in jiu-jitsu. A black belt in jiu-jitsu is not somebody who trains harder. It's somebody who is intelligent about his training. Sometimes you train hard, but most of the time you train very smart. It's about timing. It's about when to do what. Same thing when you have pain. Pain tolerance isn't toughness, it's often ignorance, especially when you're injured. And the hard lesson for me was the pain in my elbows. Years of pushing through discomfort and pain until cartilage broke loose. So the real shift happens when you stop asking, how hard can I train? And you start asking, how smart can I train? So training smart overcomes training hard every single day. So train today as like you train tomorrow. And that is the real advanced level that I want you guys to think about. The most impactful surgery that I had, even though at the end it was nothing, it was heart surgery. It happened during during or after the COVID years. I had this like squishing, like somebody squeezing your arm all the time. I had this around my heart area, and I went to a cardiologist, and my doctor then to a cardiologist, and did all kinds of testing. They couldn't find anything, so they had to go in, which to me was shit. If they find something, what's next then? So they went in. It's actually very interesting. You get a little cut in. At least I got a cut in my wrist, or they can go to the groin, but they went through my wrist. They put like a little camera attached to a hose, and you feel like tingling inside your vein. They go into the heart. You look at the mirror or at the TV screen, excuse me, TV screen, and you can actually see what they're doing. And at the end of the day, it was nothing. It was just like some calcium buildup in one of the walls of my heart, and the cardio said it's really nothing. Um, but the stress involved with going through surgery of my heart was really demanding on my mental health. Then when the doctor said it's all fine, it's like a burden fell off my shoulders. But then I had to go back to training because now was was it really physical or was it something mental because of all the stress that happened during the COVID years? I just shook it off and said, okay, you know what? It happened. It's nothing's going on. So now let's get back on the mat. Let's get back to training. Let's get back to teaching. Let's get back to what you like to do. And again, not a setback, but another comeback. And this led to another great self-reflection for me. I haven't competed in like 5 years, so I decided to start competing again. And so I thought about competing. I should say I didn't start competing. I thought about competing and challenge myself because all this stress of COVID and heart surgery was gone. But then what? So we always talk about skills on the net, right? And oh, this guy is good. Look at his technique. This guy is strong. But do we ever think about health as being a skill? Health is not luck. It is really a skill, just like technique. It requires awareness and repetition. And your body whispers before it screams. It's tight, fatigue, tired, reduced range of motion, stiffness, all these things, and you ignore. But ignoring those whispers is what leads to surgery. So the smarter you learn to manage your training, the better it is for longevity. Respect recovery, respect rest, incorporate rest as part of training, not just going on and on and on and on. Don't only train as a black belt, but also rebuild as a black belt. Rebuilding after a setback is not about going hard again. It's about going smart and keep going smart. I took 5 years away from competition, and during that time, I rebuilt my identity. I wasn't chasing medals. I was sharpening, understanding whatever goes on in my body, how can I cope so I can train longer? So when I came back, I wasn't the same athlete. I was more patient, more strategic, more efficient. And I always talk about being efficient and effective. And the results followed. A comeback is not a return, it's an upgrade. Treat every injury, every setback as a modus of coming back better, coming back stronger. So people have to stop training, they fall into a crisis because they're injured or whatever the crisis is, whatever, they had to stop training. But injury just doesn't affect the body. It affects identity, the thing of who you are. When athletes stop training, they feel lost, useless, disconnected. But performance is something you do, not who you are. You are the person who built the skill, and that person doesn't disappear because you're injured. As a matter of fact, that person should become better after the injury and get better after the injury and become smarter after the injury. So in the media today, we hear a lot about longevity. What does it actually mean? Living longer, training longer? For me, it means training better, living better. I don't care about how long, I care about better, especially when it comes to combat sports like what we do. Athletes are competing longer than ever. We got people in their 40s fighting here at the highest level, not because they're tougher, but because they have become smarter. Better food, better coaching, better psychological management. So precision beats volume, efficiency beats ego. Longevity is no longer accidental, it is designed nowadays. Your training and everything surrounding training is designed by specific methodologies to train longer, to fight longer, to live better, and so forth and so forth. The most annoying situation for me was elbow surgeries, because during COVID we're doing a lot of burpees to stay in shape, and we're doing a lot of push-ups, and I think I pushed it too far because the cartilage in my elbows was gone in both elbows. So I decided to have surgery first on one, then on the other. But at the same time, I was thinking, okay, you haven't, competed in forever. So why don't you get the surgery done and then prove to yourself where you at and how you do in competition? Because training is one thing. You train with your students, and they sometimes they take care of you and be nice for the old guy. But once you compete against your peers, it's a whole different story. So in 2019 was the last time I competed. So in 2024, I competed for the first time again. So it's a 5-year hiatus. So I did the European Masters in Barcelona. I took gold. I went to the Worlds in Vegas, in the Masters World. I took silver after, and my first match I won on points. Second match I won on points, but I broke 2 ribs. Third match, which was the semifinals, I won on points, and then there was an hour between the semifinal and the final. So my adrenaline was gone. I was cold, so I just couldn't move anymore, and I lost on points, and also some stupid decision on my part. But I felt really good, so I was really happy with my performance. Then shifting to 2025, I decided to do the Pans in Florida. I took silver in the Pans, which I was pretty pleased with, and this is all with the gi. And then I did the European Masters again in May of 2025, won gold there. Then I decided, okay, it's been a long time for no-gi, so let's focus on the Europeans no-gi. So I went to Rome, did the Europeans no-gi, won both my matches, and took the gold there. Even though my elbows are shot. So the lesson learned is, even though physically you might be in a bad spot, but there's always a way around things. And my way around it was changing my game, not relying so much on controlling with my arms, but more controlling with my body and using my arms more as tools to strategically place instead of just holding. Conclusion of all this is, once you're injured, like I said before, it's not a setback. It has to be a comeback if you want to do something that you like. And for me, that's jiu-jitsu and some other things I like to do in life. So treat injuries with your brain and think about what you need to do to get better, so you can do and keep doing the things you love. So in order to live longer, to train longer, to do things that you like for a longer period of time, you need a game plan. Longevity requires structure. Sleep is non-negotiable. Stress management matters. Strength and mobility are armor, are part of the trade. Recovery tools are supporting you. They're not some kind of weakness. Ego is a weakness, so control the ego. And that is most of the time the final piece, or where you can train longer. Because if you can control your ego, everything else will fall into place. Don't think about hours of training. Think about decades of training, not years, not months, decades. Situations in life, especially injuries, will tap everybody eventually, because it's unavoidable. So the difference is not the setback, it is the response, how you deal with it. Tap when you need, reset when it's smart. Rebuild with intention, because the comeback, not the setback, defines you. This was Roll Smart, guys. We'll see you next time.